A little video here about RCA jacks and what I've found about them in the last few years is that they don't take solder very well unless you prep them by roughing up the surface some. And you can do that with a file or a grinder to do that. And I have a little modeling file here that maybe an emery board you can do it with. Just rough up the surface some. Because you want the solder to take on the positive there. You can rough up both sides if you want to try to get it to adhere to both sides. And it takes out the little burr. Now on the negative side, you may have to use a little round file to do it. And sometimes you have to use a board to give it a little support so you don't bend it, but you can put pressure on it like that. Scratch it up so it will take solder. You just want to get the surface roughed. Now, once you get it roughed up, you would put some flux on it to let the solder spread. So the other thing is you want your wires, make sure they're straight. And you can see that I got one longer than the other. I'm going to do that again just to be sure that it didn't mess up. So there's one longer than the other. And I didn't use my red and black wires because I have other colors to use too. So I'm going to put them right here, let the white be the negative, and then I'm looking at my positive, and it's a little long. So you want to trim it back so that it will fit better. So I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to pull that, twist the wires a little bit, like that, so that when they go in, they'll be something like that. The other thing you want to remember is to always put your sleeve back on before you do any soldering. I have done this several times and forgot to put the sleeve back on. Another thing is on the positive, I put a sleeve over it to help keep it from having any contact with the negative after it's soldered. A shrink tube, what they call them, where you heat them up and they shrink a little bit. So we're going to put that in there, slide it down, and we'll need to put the flux on and heat up the soldering iron. I'll be back. Now, as the soldering iron is getting hot, I want to point out another thing is you can get a bigger tube of heat shrink where it will go around both wires, and you can just feed it down there like that. And I'm going to use 2 of them on this run. And that will help keep the wires together if you have a long amount of wire. I usually put my wires in a split wire loom that keeps all the wires together, and I can run several depending on the diameter of the wire loom. So let's get back to soldering. So like I said, don't forget to put your sleeves back on and feed them through. Clean, make sure your wires are twisted, and because I'm going to prep them with some solder and tint them a little bit. And put your sleeve you're going to cover over your positive on, like that. All right, so now I'll also put my RCA jack in the holder here. So I'm going to put some flux on the positive and the negative. You don't need much. And I'm going to put some flux on the end of the wires. I'm going to do the wires first, get a little solder on their ends. What I can do is take out my push pin that I had done earlier. Put my wires in there to hold them. And maybe I can solder them real good. So here we go. Okay. Take the wires out. There. And put a little solder on the RCA jacks. Also, now I'm going to do my positive first, and I want it on the inside if I can get it in there. Probably need to put some solder on it better. There we go, a little solder. And so my longer wire was the green one. I'm going to put it in there and get it to bond. Well, I'm hoping it's bonded. It's bonded, but it came up a little bit. Do that again, hold it down flat. Ooh, the wire gets hot quick. All right, turn it over. Get my negative wire and put it in here. Heat it up some. And there we go. Turn off the soldering iron, put it away. Let it cool a little bit. take my heat sink or heat shrink, slide it down over the positive, because I want to shrink it, and close these wires a little bit. You could grab both of them in there, but sometimes it just doesn't work to grab both of them. I got one. At least I got one. And put a little heat on that. Need to get a little lighter for that. I do have a hot air gun that would do this, but it's put up right now, so you just want to hold a little bit, you know, get a little heat going on it. Don't want to burn it. And close it up. Got that done. Bring our sleeve back over. Screw it on. And there you go. You're done. So now it's just a matter of where do I want to put the other sleeve heat shrinks. I'll put one about right there. Help hold the wire together. You don't want to burn the wire. You just want it to shrink. You want it to shrink really good. That might hold it good. And the other one's about right here. And what I'm doing here, I'm making a test. This is a dew heater strip cast in silicone that you would use from the silicone that you use to make a mold. And it's flexible. It's got resistors in here. And I'm just going to test it to see if the silicone will work for a secondary mirror pad. Of course, it's not the shape of a secondary mirror pad because I'm just doing a test. So that's some tidbits on how to solder these RCA jacks that are a problem now if you don't rough them up to take the solder. Clear skies, guys.